Welcome to Stipko Live. Today's segment brought to you by USA Today. We've got ourselves a presidential candidate. Long overdue, I might add, although I'm still undecided, but maybe something will change here today.
I'll get you, man.
Governor Buddy Roemer is here, a presidential candidate, and I'll let him explain the party situation that he's got going on. And Governor, thank you very much. Good to see you again.
Good to be here.
Last time I saw you, you were explaining to me what was happening up in Boston with your party change or potential change.
Right.
Some things have happened.
Well, you know, it was whispered even then, and that's been 2 months ago.
Right.
That I had certain problems with the Republican Party and might have to opt out of the party and run in a different fashion. Now, it's my belief then and now that the country has some difficulties that need to be addressed. Budget problems, we have a debt we can't pay. Tax problems, we have a tax code we can't understand, and it's not fair. Unfair trade with China, it needs to be addressed. Immigration reform, health reform, bank reform, all these things need to be done. But the key thing to me is campaign reform. I think Washington is not only broken, it's bought. That a big check writes the tax code. So we talked about that 2 months ago, and I found it very difficult to run for president when I was not asked to be on a single nationally televised debates. The Republicans have had 21 debates nationally televised. I'm the only one running in the party who has been elected a governor and a congressman.
Now, I know you've got a really talented staff. Surely you or your staff has reached out to those in charge and said, hey, what's the story?
Believe me, we have reached out to the sponsor of every debate, to the manager of every debate.
Because it's their call, right? They pick who
it's
comes on.
It's their call.
There's
no law that says Buddy Roemer has to be in the debate.
Right.
I mean, there's no law that says just because I built $1 billion bank and created a couple 100,000 jobs and balanced the budget as governor and worked with Ronald Reagan in Congress when I was a Democrat leading the boll weevils. There's no reason that Buddy Roemer or law that says he has to be in the debate. But since I was the only one running for president, Democrat or Republican, who had that kind of experience, right, and have been successful at it. I don't want to exaggerate this. I'm a human being. I make mistakes. I've got things I wish I could have done differently. But I like my record. It's an honest record and a good record. And yet I was not asked to a single debate. And to answer your question, we've called, before every debate, we call and say, look, he's at 4% in this poll. And he's the only person that hadn't been on a debate. All the other people at 5% or 3% or 8% or 20% have been on debates. They've gotten publicity. Roemer's gotten nothing. Do you think he ought to be included in the debate? And they always have a reason. I'm not high enough in the polls. Well, how do you get higher unless you're in the debate? Right. I haven't raised enough money. You know, I'm the only person running that doesn't take PAC money. I don't take super PAC money. $100 is my limit. I mean, I have very strict rules. Right. I'm old-fashioned. I think a president ought to be free to lead. I don't think a president ought to build a party.
Yeah, you're not party building.
No, I think you ought to build a nation. Anyway, that's my belief, and it's been very frustrating when we last talked about not including the debate. Since then, I decided to drop out of the Republican contest for president and to run as an independent. I was a Democrat for 20 years in Congress, and as a young man, I changed parties. I blame Ronald Reagan. He was great. I loved working with him. Right. So I said, as governor, I'd like to have a two-party state in Louisiana, and we'll change parties, and I did. And that was 21 years ago. So about every 20 years, it seems, I rethink this party situation. And I've decided now that what America needs, in my opinion, is a president free to lead and one that's designated to reach across party lines, put a unity team together, and rebuild America. So that's what I'm doing under the banner of Americans Elect. That's where we are today.
Fantastic. Now, has this worked against you at any point? When people look at you changing parties, do they interpret that as an indecision quality or anything along those lines?
They could. I mean, you leave yourself to be criticized by both parties,
Yeah.
and it's pretty consistent. I am criticized by both parties,
Right.
and they're right because I'm against them.
Right.
I feel differently than they do. I don't think to elect a Republican is going to change America. I don't think to elect a Democrat is going to change America. I think we need to elect a woman or a man who is committed to reform, who is committed to changing America.
Right.
And the biggest change I would make, House Bill 1, will be campaign reform. No super PACs. PAC contributions equal to individual contributions, not twice as much.
Right.
Full disclosure, 48-hour reporting, no lobbyist can bring a check, and criminal penalties to the politicians who violate these rules. That would be my first start.
That's my favorite start.
That's my favorite start. And that's the way we change the tax code. That's the way we change the budget code. That's the way we get bank reform. Quit taking their money. Treat them fairly.
Right.
But don't be bought by
Right.
them.
Right. Now, you talk about being bought. You know, Santorum's got literally walking around with them humongous billionaire contributors. These campaigns it takes money to
It does
become
take
president.
money.
Tons of money.
Let me just say this. I'm not picking on Rick Santorum, but here's the way
Neither
it
was
works.
I. I'm just saying, you know, it takes money, and we talked earlier.
Obama's raising $1 billion. Guess where he's raising it from? His first fundraiser was on Wall Street. Goldman Sachs was the friggin' sponsor.
Right.
I mean, come on.
But how do you compete with that?
Well,
I understand, but
you have to make it an issue. You have to live. You can't give the speech. You have to live the speech.
Right.
I'm in the roughest part now. I've raised $400,000. I'm proud of that.
Good for you. At $100, what's the average?
100 or less. Average is $25. $25. I've had almost 20,000 people say,
Right.
and 19,000 of them have never given a penny to a politician before. I'm doing something different. It's interesting. You might think it's stupid.
Boy, buddy, this is an amazing lesson in discipline. Founding and probably having some sort of influence still in $1 billion bank, and you're clearly you've turned down any money from any of those sources at all. You're sticking to that. You're leading by example here.
You have to do it. The way to change Washington
Right.
is to change its leader. And the leader can't be leased or rented or bought by special interest.
Right.
And whether it's Bill Clinton or George W. Bush or Barack Obama, they're all the same. They're bought. Wall Street owns them. That's why I go visit Occupy Wall Street. They smell it. They have goofy solutions sometimes,
Right.
but they smell it. I like their nose. They can smell corruption. And I decided after 20 years out of politics, happy in Louisiana,
Right.
love my family, love my wife, love my 2 dogs. I mean, I didn't want to get back in politics, but I saw a country headed downhill, not competitive, and not making changes. So I decided to make money the issue. Now, money is not the issue at the end of the day. When you're dying on your deathbed, I would guess that I wouldn't ask the question, how much money do I have? I guess I would ask the question, I wonder what would be possible for me to visit with my friends again. There are issues more important than money.
Yeah.
But in a republic, the elected officials are elected to represent the people. And it's my position that they represent the money now. And people come second. And when people come second, you have a tax code where GE pays no taxes and makes $15 billion, and the average barber makes $60,000 and pays $20,000 in taxes. It's not fair.
It's just not right.
It's not right.
It's like it should be the common sense party.
There's no question about it. And I'm looking for a party. You ask me, can I say, well, Buddy can't make up his mind. I guess it's true. I've been a Democrat for 20 years. I've been a Republican for 20 years. And I've decided that I'm going to be independent. That I'm going to be independent of the parties, and I'm going to be independent of the big checks. That I will stand with the people. And when I'm president, I will ask Democrats and Republicans to join me in rebuilding America. What a novel idea that is.
It's wonderful. We actually, James Mitchell, our field reporter, went out and talked to some guys and gals in Central Park here in Manhattan, and they've got a couple questions for you. So if you don't mind, we're going to throw over to James. James, why don't you tell us a little bit about who we're going to talk to, or maybe throw some questions at Governor Roemer.
Thank you. The good question, and we've spent some time this morning talking about it, but let me say it again, because it's a good question to ask, and it must be answered. I'm 68, I'm a granddaddy. I have 3 kids, 3 grandkids, thanks. I found, as you learn about yourself in life, that I'm an independent, basically. That I don't vote for a woman because she's a Republican. I don't vote for a man because he's a Democrat. I vote for people that have my philosophy, or who love America, or who have talent that we need. I try to vote for leaders. So, number one, I am an independent. Number two, my experience with the parties has not been as positive as I would like it. Now, I'm not a hit or miss person. I didn't join the Democrats one week and the Republicans the next.
Right.
I grew up a Democrat. I spent 8 years in Congress a Democrat. I was head of a group called the Boll Weevils, worked with Ronald Reagan. I served 3 years as governor of Louisiana as a Democrat. But I found that the party had gone far away from what I believe, which was a smaller government, a more accountable government, and government that didn't abridge our freedoms. So I decided to switch parties. I like what the Republicans were saying about educational choice. I like what they were saying about a simpler tax code. But after 20 years in the Republican Party, and after this presidential election, I found that they were just like the Democrats, that both parties were joined at the billfold. It wasn't about ideas.
Right.
It wasn't about a family. It wasn't about North Carolina or Maryland or Massachusetts. It was about them.
Right.
It was about, well, he's not a very good leader, but he's ours. I just found that the parties didn't fit with me. That's number one. Number two, I found the country needed to go beyond that. I think we're a great nation, but in difficulty. And I think we need someone who can reach across party lines. An independent can do that.
Next question.
I have to use their money against them. I have to point out that Obama is raising $1 billion. And he starts in Wall Street. You know, he was better 4 years ago. He raised $700 million. And the last place he went was Wall Street. I thought there was some change there.
No.
No change. First place he goes now is Wall Street. Check the record. The average size of his investors or his contributors is 3 times what it was 4 years ago. He's playing the money game. So here's how I'm going to compete. I'm going to use the money against them. The more they raise and the more fundraisers they have and the more ambassadorships they give to big money people, I'm going to hold it against them. And then finally, I'm going to ask average plain people to give me $25, $50, $75, or $100. Let's beat them. Let's get 1 million people at $100. We'll beat them.
With that money, you can do it.
I can do it. It can do it.
Next question. That's a good question.
Yeah, it's an excellent question. As a kid, I grew up on a cotton farm in North Louisiana. I have a brother and 3 sisters, so I come from a big family, and you have to be a little bit of a politician.
Just to survive.
So I had certain gifts. My dad was interested in politics. He was never a politician, but he helped other people get elected, and he thought that was important. I went to college and ran for political office there.
Yeah, how were they at Harvard?
They
You're
were
a Harvard
good.
guy.
I never mentioned Harvard, but that's where I went to school.
No, I will.
For
I'd be
a
proud of
farm
it.
boy. Yeah, it was a good school, tough school.
How, are they behind you much? You get over
I
there?
do. I get a lot of support from the students and a few faculty members. I went to Harvard at 16. A part of my growing up was at Harvard. I was the youngest person in my class. And I studied government and economics. So politics has always been part of me. I've never been a professional politician very much. I think I've run in 11 different races, though. I've won 9 of them, pretty good. I'm a hard hitter. I'm different. I think out of the box. I think it's the duty of every American to either run for office or help someone who is. That's what keeps America free.
The 2 times that you lost, how'd you handle it? And what do you think?
Took it tough. Oh, I took it tough.
I don't see
First
you taking
time I ran, I lost. The last time I ran, I lost. In between, I was lucky. I worked hard. I enjoyed it. But I can lose. Life is like that. If you're afraid to lose, you might not stand up.
You told me that a few months ago. You told me that you're not quitting. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter where you are in the polls. And looking at what Santorum just did, I mean, it proves that someone can go from here to here
when
like that.
When you and I spoke a couple months ago, Santorum and I were equal in the polls,
right,
at 4%.
Right. There were times where you were above them.
Absolutely.
So it can happen.
It's wide open, folks. Listen to me, America. We can do better than Romney or Obama. Here's my promise to you. We can do better. We can have better policies. We can have better government. We can do better. And here's the way you start. Free to lead. Is this woman or this man free to do the right thing when we tell them what the right thing is? The answer should be yes.
Outstanding. Well, I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Let me tell you, it's an uphill battle for you, I can see, but you know what you're doing.
We're closer now than we were 2 months ago. I'm telling you.
What's your biggest concern?
Having enough time to do it right. I'm ready. I'm 68. I've been a congressman, a governor. I've turned a corrupt state around. I can do this.
You can turn a corrupt nation around.
I can do this.
You know, I haven't heard you talk much, I'm sorry, about foreign policy. How do you feel about the Middle East, the situation there, China? I mean, I know these are gargantuan questions.
No, and I've been to both places extensively. It's interesting being 68. I've been to China more times than than Santorum, Romney, or Obama put together.
Right.
I've been to every province in China. There are 30 of them.
Do you speak Chinese?
I do not speak Chinese. As people can tell you, I barely speak English. But I had a good translator with me, and she was wonderful.
Right.
My first trip to China was 63 days. Not on a government payroll. I paid for it myself. I wanted to know what a communist dictatorship looked like. I wanted to know how they traded so well against us. And I found out they cheat. They negotiate to their advantage and take advantage of our weakness. And that needs to change. I think we ought to trade smart. And that's my foreign policy approach. I would take oil out of the room. I would be energy independent. I would drill safely for natural gas. Domestically. I would turn us into approaching energy independence. I would tariff foreign oil from the Middle East, make it more expensive, and have us rely on our own clean, pure natural gas. Do you know that natural gas has only 20% of the carbon footprint of oil?
Yes.
Did you know that?
Yes, I did.
Do you know that if we did the Keystone Pipeline, we would have about 50,000 well-paying jobs in America and be 15% more energy independent than we are right now? And that the same oil that the environmentalists say, oh, we shouldn't use that, we are transporting all the way from Saudi Arabia to use in America. We need an energy policy. We don't have one. You asked me about foreign policy. Let me be quick. We should not be policemen to the world. I'm not a war president. Now, there are times when we have to defend our soil and defend our freedom. I would do that with honor and speed, but I would get congressional approval. No more undeclared wars without congressional approval.
Yeah, that's a tall order.
It's a tall order, but I will do it. I will rebuild the nation, and it won't be Afghanistan. It will be the United States of America.
One of our primary writers, and he's a lover of presidents. It's what he does. You know, Anthony Bergen, one of the writers on N magazine, he said you have to ask him, what president would he model himself after if he could pick one from George Washington forward?
Abraham Lincoln, one nation. Theodore Roosevelt. Are we going to be a party of plain people who build a great nation? Or are we going to be a party of privilege and Wall Street? Those are my two favorite presidents.
Outstanding.
Both Republicans, by the way.
Right. You're going to abolish the party system. It's going to be done, right?
We can have the party system, but I'm going to expose the money.
Right.
We're going to clean up the money.
Governor Roemer, thank you very much for coming. I wish
Thank
you all
you.
the best.
Thank you.
so
Appreciate
much.
it.
Well, there you go, Governor Roemer. Go to buddyroemer.com and make a little donation, or at least find out more about Buddy. Aaron Stipkovich on Stipko Live. Thank you.